Oh, good for
Okay.
you, Isaac.
We are going live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time zone you happen to be in. Welcome to Leaders Worldwide Online Club. I am Isaac Ford, your Sergeant at Arms. And if you are a guest, please put a G in front of your name. And if you have a role, please put that, rename yourself. Club mission: we provide a positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce DTM 5 times, Tala bin Hamid. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. And I don't know about this whole 5 times stuff because every time someone mentions this, the expectations go here. And it's always a struggle to try to match that, but I'll try my best. So everyone, welcome to this 97th meeting of Leaders Worldwide. Just imagine, 3 meetings away from our century. So congratulations, everyone, for making it this far. Today, our meeting theme is Participate Today. And it's all about participation. It's all about turning up, isn't it? We're all here with each other. We're all here looking at each other. And right now, nothing else seems to exist in the world except for this meeting. And that's the way it should be. We have all made time from our schedules in order to be here. We've all made preparations. And what's the outcome? The outcome is, of course, personal growth, but a more important outcome is helping others, becoming better human beings. And in the process, we become better human beings ourselves. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you all to this meeting once again. And I believe we have a guest from District 27, Jennifer Ferguson. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Yes, I am from District 27, District 36, both in the United States, District 86 and District 123 in Canada. Yes, I've been a Toastmaster for 20 plus years, and my journey allows me to continue opening myself so I can learn and then pass it on. That's why I'm here today. I'm passionate about Toastmasters, and I'm happy to be able to attend the meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just imagine if we make you a member, it will be a 5th district you'll be a member of. And there I was thinking that being on the executive committee of 7 clubs was some big deal, but clearly no. So congratulations and thank you so much. Clearly, you are passionate about Toastmasters, and it's a pleasure and honor to have you. I don't think we have another guest, but we do have our keynote speaker, Mr. Joseph Skoda. So, Mr. Joseph, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you so much. Very interesting. I only belong to 3 districts myself, but I only have 3 DTMs. So hats off to you. You have 5. If I get my 4th DTM next year, maybe I could join 4 different districts. But I'm from District 33, past District Director. That's roughly the Central Coast, all the way out to Modesto and Lancaster and Ventura, Thousand Oaks. All that fun stuff, Paso Robles. They were pretty good. But I live in the Pismo Beach area. That's what I like to tell people. Anyways, even though I live a little further south there. But I'm from the great state of Ohio, but I call the Central Coast home right now. But glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you, and your credentials are absolutely inspiring and impressive. Now it's time to move on to our Toastmaster of the day. And if I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first turn as Toastmaster of the day. Am I right?
You're close.
For
This is
Leaders
also
Worldwide?
second.
Sorry?
This is my second time.
All right, all right, all
Yeah.
right. Apologies for that. As
I'm
a
still
president,
new.
I should have known better. But there, I've spoiled it all for you guys. I meant to announce Toastmaster of the Day in a kind of suspenseful and sensational manner, but I went ahead and spoiled it all by saying, this is your first time, but it's not. So everyone, please put your hands together for energetic and diligent and clearly extremely successful VP membership, Toastmaster Gary Howard, who will be hosting the meeting for us today. Over to you, Toastmaster Gary.
Well, welcome everybody. And today's theme, and thank you for participating, because the theme for today is participate today. And the word of the day is exposure, and those two are closely tied together. And life is really all about participating. There's many areas in our lives that it's important for us to participate, especially in family activities, what's going on with our family, that sort of thing. Your children, if you have children, in their schooling and all those types of things. Also with churches to help with your spiritual growth. You know, you need to be there. You have to participate is really the key thing. If you don't participate, it's very difficult to receive a benefit from any area in your life. And certainly Toastmasters, we're all participating here today and contributing to everybody else who's here and sharing your thoughts and feelings and support. And all those things are very important. When it comes to businesses, you need to participate too. Independent entrepreneurs and small businesses get involved with the chambers of commerce. And if you're not active and you don't participate, then you will not have any exposure. And exposure is what most business people are really looking for. And then another thing on the personal side, there's meetup groups, there's networking, there's a variety of things we can do to either support our hobbies and or our businesses and or our families. So I encourage everybody to participate in all aspects of their life, because that's what gives us a fulfilling and a vibrant and meaningful life. And at this point, I would like to introduce our general evaluator of the day, who is also a member of the executive team here at Leaders Worldwide, works extremely hard at putting everything together. And I would like everybody to give it up for Linda Patton. Linda, here's to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gary. That was a very beautiful introduction. And I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you once again, and to our guests. It's so great that you're here. But for the benefit of our members and guests, I am your general evaluator, and I work with several absolutely stellar individuals to evaluate various portions of the program, as well as the speakers themselves. So with that, I'm going to call on, first of all, our grammarian, Sally Reyes. Sally, would you tell us what the grammarian does and the word of the day?
Thank you. Well, our Toastmaster has already revealed our secret word of the day, which is exposure. And the more we participate in all aspects of our lives, the more we are exposed to new information and an enriching life. So I'll be looking for that word as you deliver our participation in whatever your choice is today. And thank you for enriching my life and exposing it.
Thank you, Sally, so very, very much for participating today, and definitely as well exposing what the job of the grammarian is. Let me move on to our timer. who is Teresa Cherry. Teresa, if you would tell the audience what you do.
Okay. As we all know, when we speak, we must keep very aware of the time of our presentation in order for us to be able to perhaps give the host some idea of how to slot us into the agenda, or to simply stop ourselves from waxing eloquent, going on and on and on until we can hear snoring from our audience. So in that vein, I will be timing the various presentations today with a virtual background of, let's see, green for the minimum amount of time, yellow for the in-between time, and red. And when red shows up, the speaker has 30 seconds to conclude. If he or she does not, you will hear this. Believe me, it's much kinder than the hook that I've used at other occasions. So thank you very much all for your attention.
Thank you, Teresa, so very much. Your job as the timer is very, very special, and it helps you to I can't say it, participate totally this evening, which is, for me, it's afternoon. Moving right along, we have one more, and that would be, no, that is all. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Linda. Today it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Joseph Skoda. And Joseph, thank you for being here with us today. He's a past director, District 33 director. As a retired Air Force officer, he is very active with the Disabled American Veterans and the American Legion. He also has founded GI Connections, where he connects veterans with resources. He comes from the great state of Ohio, which I've been to many times, but now calls the Central Coast of California home. He travels and speaks around the world, and Joseph encourages us to make every day and every experience matter. So the name of his speech today is, we have Joseph Skoda, Take the Win, Show Us Your Wow Factor. Take the Win, Show Us Your Wow Factor, Joseph Skoda.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster of the day, or the evening, or the noontime, whatever it is, wherever we live right now. It's really exciting. Isn't Zoom great? Where we can meet each other from around the world and not even know one another before. How many of you went to Nashville a couple weeks ago? Oh my goodness, our international conventions are the best because you get to meet people you think you know personally on Zoom for the last couple of years and rekindle relationships you haven't seen for other people in some time. You get different exposure. Not a covert exposure, but a friendly exposure where you're just having fun with a similar purpose. Has anyone here ever paid off a house? Maybe a brand new car? How about a 10-year-old car? Credit cards. You know, more often than not, we pay those things off. We're like, wow, I finally paid off my car $30,000 later in 10 years, and you're in debt somewhere else. But we're excited about those things, right? And that's exciting. See, our timer wants to know how long I'm going to talk for. That's a good question. I'm going to follow you. They told me I had an hour and a half. I'm going to follow you. And that's so exciting about these things. And I honestly thought I had 45 minutes till yesterday. It's those little things sometimes I forget to look and notice and take notice.
Shall I remind you?
Oh, you just show me the lights. I know it's about 15 minutes, more or less. Totally get it. And that's not a problem because I'm going to consider that a wow factor. I can hit happy hour just a little bit earlier today than I expected. You see, sometimes when you have not necessarily inconvenience, or something happens in your life that you did not expect, it could be a good thing. Now, I was on here earlier where I announced that I have a trailer in my backyard and it caught fire yesterday. The outlet to the wall and to the RV itself, it just caught on fire. Not the trailer itself, just the cord burned out, so I have no power. I had to call my buddy, an electrician, to rewire a few things. But that's okay. I'm so grateful I have that trailer because that was the beginning of me building my house. If I didn't have that trailer on the property and the time to slowly build and invest my money elsewhere, I couldn't say, wow, look at my house. No, it should be, wow, look at my trailer that got me to the bigger goal of life. When you buy your first car as a teenager, hopefully I was probably 18 in the Philippines where I was stationed, bought my first Dodge Dart, little push button on the dashboard, a little lever for the brakes and all that fun stuff, $150. It was 20 years old when I bought it. But anyway, it was the first car I bought myself. Lasted about 3 or 4 months. I bought Plymouth Fury and so forth and so on. But those little things that we start off with should be wins when we pay it off. Even if we don't pay it off, we somehow have possession of something. That's a good thing. Now, I was a wrestler most of my childhood because I had 2 younger brothers who were always wrestling, or wrestling as they used to call it. But I was a wrestler and I got pretty good at it. But my middle school years and early high school years weren't so good. In fact, I would show up for practice every day, but I would rarely make the cut to actually wrestle in the match. I really did. I got a little tougher and stronger, but I kind of gave up. I just enjoyed being on the team, right? Girls like guys who are on playing sports. That was good enough for me at the time. But I was not that great of a wrestler. But one day, they needed an A team and a B team because we had 2 matches at the same time. So here I am. I really won. I thought it was okay. I really won because I gave up. But I was on the B team and I wrestled and I won the match. I won the match. I had a little wow factor, a little something I achieved. I didn't even expect it to happen. You know what I won? A Gatorade. Remember Gatorades? They gave everyone a Gatorade when you played, but if you won the match, you got 2. That was my win back then. It's like, wow, look at this. And as time went on, since I won that match, I started paying a little more attention during practice, started taking it more seriously. We had a wrestle off, started doing things a little bit differently to achieve more success. Well, fast forward to my senior year, I got a scholarship to Ohio State University for wrestling. Came 3rd in state that year. It was a good time. I loved it. But I didn't take that scholarship. I wanted to join the Air Force. Now, you take that scholarship, I don't need it. I didn't want to go back to school. You know what? A year after being in the Philippines and working for the Air Force, I'm taking college classes. I'm taking college classes because someone took me along the way and says, if you're going to love the military and want to do something with your life, you need to learn more than your job. You need to have a broader knowledge. I worked on airplanes, F-4s at the time. You see, you need to learn more about Air Force history and the Army history and Navy and everything else. And if you really want to ensure that you're going to have a good retirement, you might want to get a commission one day, commission officer, and you need at least a bachelor's degree to do so. Now, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm taking classes here one at a time when I could, and all those others. Any college graduates here? Right. How long does an associate degree take?
As long as it takes.
I love that answer. It took me 12 years. 12 years to get my first associate's degree. Now, I was deployed a lot. I couldn't take classes all the time and traveled and did some other stuff and money was tight and had a family. All those excuses, and sometimes I couldn't. But it took me 12 years to get that associate's degree. But guess what? No one asked you how long it took you. Oh, you got your associates. All right, good job. No one asked you. And I eventually got my bachelor's and master's and PhD, and I got my commission in the United States Air Force, which almost didn't happen. But those are little wins along the way. Now, to get a degree, you kind of have to pass a couple courses, right? That would help. You pass a couple courses every now and then. And to do that, you kind of have to show up for class and actually pass a few tests. And that could take some time for some people. But if we think early on in our life and our career, hey, I passed this test. Well, some of us are pretty good, book smart, and taking tests. I never was. I could never get promoted as an enlisted guy. It took me forever to get. My son's in the Air Force. He got promoted in half the time it took me to make technical sergeant, for instance. That's a whole different story. But it's those little wins of passing that test or getting a better grade than you had before, or finally finishing a course and then getting that degree. So you go, wow, when you got the degree, but why not, wow, I got to nail my test? Why not, wow, I passed statistics? I had to take statistics 3 times to pass. Telling you, I'm not that bright, but I'm not consistent. I'm persistent. I'm not consistent with anything. You know how many businesses I've been involved with and failed? There's too many that count. I don't even want to talk about that today. I'm in a vacation club, and quite frankly, I'm vacationing and making money at the same time, and it's a wonderful thing. We talked a little bit about, I'm also founder of GI Connections. I'm commander of the American Legion where I live, commander of the Disabled American Veterans where I live, founder of GI Connections, and founder of Social Media Shows Network out in Vegas, where I'm doing a huge red carpet event this Saturday. If you happen to be in Vegas, please look me up. So we talk about those degrees and maybe paying off a house, and we're looking at, wow, look what I was able to accomplish. Wow, this isn't up here. Wow, it's down here. Wow, we're doing that. Wow, we're making that progress. Wow, how many times you ask someone out and they finally say yes? That's a wow. It may not last. The relationship may not last but a couple of weeks. I've had a few of those too. But it was wow that she turned around and gave you a second look. Why don't we celebrate those little accomplishments along the way, no matter how small they are? We don't. Maybe you don't know how to fix your car, but maybe you learn how to change a tire. Maybe you learn how to put gas in your car or plug it in today. I don't know how to do those kinds of things all the time. I have people do that. But how to wash your car. Remember the first time you washed and maybe waxed your car? Maybe it didn't come out so good. If you ever hand wax the car, it's not easy because that buffing process could take a lot of energy, out of you when you're doing those kinds of things. But the exposure to the sun, if you're not fast enough, you're going to get those swirls. But you ever do it right? You ever try it again and it came out this pristine and perfect? It's kind of a big deal. Or I have 2 granddaughters right now. And the 6 and 3. And when my 6-year-old, I think when she was 4, first time she was able to ride a bike for herself. Now we can enjoy watching the kids grow up and taking their first steps, riding a bike for the first time, that first poop. I don't understand why people congratulate the first poop. I understand the walking, the talking, the other stuff, but we want to celebrate everything. Why don't we do that for one another? Not necessarily celebrating the first poop for one another, but why can't we just recognize each other finishing that first speech without an or or somewhere we never heard of before? Why don't we celebrate more often than not using your notes when speaking? Why can't we celebrate someone staying within the time limits? I know many of us, the first time we did table topics, we couldn't even do a minute. And now, especially as DTMs, we can't stop at 2. We just don't know how to stop. That's a whole different skill set. Learn how to slow down. Because sometimes, here's a problem too, when we hit too many wow factors, we get a little arrogant. Don't tie me, I'm a DTM, for instance, and all those other things. Please take everything you do seriously, because the world as we know it can be taken away from us overnight. It has in some cases. COVID, for instance, or we lived in Ukraine. Can you imagine the life they're living over there? we don't know our last days in this world. So make sure you celebrate, find something to celebrate each and every day. Now, if you're in your 30s and 40s and still celebrating that you can tie your shoes, you might want to move on to bigger and better things. But okay, I know how to, like, for instance, I know how to tie a tie one way. And I'm told there's like 6 or 7 different ways to tie a tie. I haven't learned those yet, but I haven't focused on it. And I need to. Anyone ever tie a bow tie? Not just a clip-on, but a real bow tie? I haven't, but I've seen a guy do that. How do you do those things? That could be a little win. It might not mean anything in the grand scheme of your world or your life, but it could be a little win. And when someone comes around, I'll give $20 to the first person who can tie a bow tie. Done. When you learn a skill, regardless of how minuscule it might sound or feel at that moment, it's still a skill you have that someone else may not have. Take advantage of that little factor, say, wow, look at me. And when someone finishes their level 1 or level 2 or icebreaker, whatever it is, give them some honest feedback. Remember these little slips of paper where people would write and say how great you are, how great you're not? I still have over half of the ones I've had over the 9 years I've been a Toastmaster. And every now and then I'll open them up. And you can see the progression from where you started. Hey, good, you didn't look ridiculous today. You didn't embarrass the club today. And it just gets better and better where people ask you to speak at their clubs. And not just Toastmasters clubs. You know, I routinely speak in different places. I'll make anywhere from $150 an hour to thousands for the day. It all started with the Toastmasters Club. It all started with getting, well, stuck in the leadership. I was a VPE and the president talked me to be VPE, and a month later he quits, not just being president, he quit the whole club. And I'm forced into the president of a club, and I'm still fairly new to myself. But I had a team around me, says, we're gonna help you be successful. And we became presidents distinguished that year. I've been president 4 times in 9 years for different clubs. Presidents distinguished each and every time. Because it meant something to me. It was my wow factor. Maybe just a little ribbon or a $25 or a TI gift card or whatever it was, but it meant something to me. Seriously, find out something that gets you excited. You know, you don't have to be flashy and gamey like so many other people. And find out what makes you tick inside. It doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. Celebrate your own wow factor. Invite a couple new members to your club. Grow, but don't be afraid to show your inner side, yourself, and what makes you tick, and what makes your life happy, and what you're looking forward to. Life is too short to be jabbing and pointing fingers, and you could have done that, and you should have done this. And I know I have a red card out there, so I'm going to leave you with this real quick. Find out, seriously, what makes you tick. What is your wow factor? And celebrate it. Share it. I love hats. I really do. But when I'm on top of my game, I'm at the top of my game. And when I had a Hall of Fame event, when I finished up my District 33 year, you know what they gave me? Yeah, they gave me something that meant a lot to me. They gave me something that made me know I had the wow factor. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Stephen. That was very inspiring. Let us know. And I'd like to introduce our facilitator, Tala bin Hamid, to handle the Q&A part. So Tala?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Absolutely inspiring, DT and Joseph, and each and every word that you said. And yes, you're so right. We are so obsessed with everything being perfect and maybe on our long-term goals that we forget that we are not here for 500 years. We need to celebrate the little moments. We should die happy no matter when we die. So yeah, that's a cheerful thought. Anyhow, so the floor is open for question. I'll first read off some of the remarks that you received. Take everything you do seriously, and yet don't take your participation personally. Wow, that was from VP Education, Catherine Phil. And then she asks, how do you tell your story if it doesn't seem like a big deal?
Well,
No, that's a really good one, because my brother was a Toastmaster for a little while, and he joined one of our clubs, and he was my evaluator. And you know what he said to me? And it's hard to tell a childhood story with a sibling in your same club. And he said to me in front of everyone, he says, well, that's an okay speech, but you suck. That was his evaluation for me in front of about a crowd this size. So how do I keep it interesting? How do I say it? None of you have heard my story before. I can tell you anything. It don't even have to be true. Doesn't matter if Pismo Beach has 100,000 members or 1.2 million. Those facts don't matter. Have fun with it, but don't try to, BS one another. Let people know this is what I remember. This is how I understand it. And quite frankly, and you should have a smile when you're talking. Don't be afraid to meet new people, get in front of crowds of people who don't know you. That's an advantage. You can say almost anything, and none of you know where I live. I hope not. I hope not. But on that case, enjoy telling your own story. You're afraid it's not interesting? What if it is? And it very well could be.
Wow, that was beautiful. You only find out once you've told your story, right? You'll never find out if you don't. So the next question is, can you detail your transition from the Toastmasters Club to paid speaking engagements? What was the process?
I'm going to be honest with you. Another district director from years ago, he was my district director. He invited me to be on his podcast in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas was part of our event once upon a time. And I did pretty well. I've been invited to be a guest a few other times, and he introduced me to other people who invited me to be on their show. And one thing led to another. And I have a partner there now. Instead of just being voice, we do videos, and pretty exciting. And that same guy that helped me make the connections to do our cast that we do now, we have a network. He's also introduced me to people looking for trainers. And like anything we do in life, we have to do it often to become good at it. If you belong to one club, stay with that club if it's feeding you. But over time, one club isn't enough. You have to join an advanced club. You have to join a humorous club, a serious club, whatever it is, that continuously feed you. Because as we're feeding, then we can try out it and find out what we're good at, and people recognize you. People, if they're not going to recognize you in your own club, you have to get out of it. How do you bring in new members to your club? You go visit other clubs and invite them. There's no other way. There's no better way than to go out somewhere else. I thought you were a great speaker. Love you to speak at my club. And that's how I got invited. And one thing leads to another.
That's again so inspiring, because that's what I found out. There's no one right answer to this question. How do you transition to a writer or a paid speaker? It's all organic. It's different for everyone. You just have to keep trying. For the longest time, it's not happening, and then suddenly it clicks and it's happening. It's like learning to play a sport or similar. So we are almost through with our question and answer session, and I would just like to end this session. Since there's no other questions, there's a short question from my side. How do you overcome soul-crushing disappointment given to you by your team members? Because I'm sure you have had quite a bit of it in your journey.
Life's short, and I used to let every little thing bother me. 99% of people say you're doing great, but that 1% will bug you and get in your crawl and mess you up for the next speech. We have to focus on the positive talk around us, the positive people around us, and minimize the negative. And sometimes the negative is in our own family or our own clubs. I choose to wake up with a smile each and every morning. That's my decision. Regardless of what you think about me or feel about me, I would have survived today or one way or the other, at least this meeting. And I stopped letting other people influence me too much. But make sure you find someone, some mentor that you want to influence you because they're doing something you want to do. They're in a place that you want to be. They're leading by an example that you want to lead. Find that mentor and ignore the rest. Thank you so much.
Find out places where you're respected and celebrated and admired, whether it's your own club or some other club across the world, just like I found with Leaders Worldwide. Thank you so much, everyone. And this brings an end to our Q&A session. If you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. We return to our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Gary Howard. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for that wonderful keynote. And one of the things that resonated with me is that little things lead up to the big things. And we need to really appreciate each of those little things along the way. So at this point, we're going to take a break, a 5-minute break. So Teresa, if you would put a timer on for 5 minutes. And we will be back at 11:41. See you all in a few minutes.
Is it okay if I test out my video background for my speech?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Of course.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me just pull up the file. Can everyone see the background and everything?
Yes.
All right. And can you see the slide changing when I change it?
Yes, it looked like. Yes.
All right. All right. Mission accomplished. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can everyone see the background and everything?
Yes.
All right. And can you see the slide changing when I change it?
Yes, it looked like. Yes.
All right. All right. Mission accomplished. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can everyone see the background and everything?
Yes.
Where is this sound coming from? And
Turn off
can
your
you see
YouTube.
the slide change? I
If
think it's the
it's
live
going live
stream.
on
I don't know, but it's like something is in a loop. It keeps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
because of the YouTube channel.
Oh.
All right. All right. YouTube, someone's playing the YouTube channel in the background. Yeah.
I see what's going on. So let me mute everybody.
Yes. Where is this sound coming from?
You that member needs to turn off the YouTube or cancel the YouTube.
Okay, I have unmuted and I cannot hear the sound, so it's not from my end. All right, maybe someone just clicked on the YouTube link and it started playing in the background in the browser. So no big deal. Now it's okay.
Okay, I'll announce it. Break's over.
Uh, Yes, it is. We're ready to get started with the second half of our meeting today. And the first thing I would like to do is to introduce our esteemed timer, Teresa Cherry, to give us the timing for the speeches that we'll be hearing this afternoon.
Well, this afternoon is going to be very easy on me because we have two beautiful 5 to 7 minute speeches. So at the 5-minute mark, I will indicate green. That's your minimum. At the 6-minute mark, I will indicate yellow. Then at the 7-minute mark, red. And at 7:30, 7 minutes, 30 seconds, I'll ring a bell.
Currently on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And I'd like to introduce our first evaluator of the day, which is our good friend from across the Atlantic, Sheena Walker. Sheena?
Thank you. I think I'm this morning, I'd like to introduce Talha. I better get his name right or he'll stop talking to me. I'd like to introduce Talha, and he's going to be speaking to us today, about the scenic route and his DTM journey. So please welcome to the stage Talha, who's going to tell us about the scenic route and his success in being a DTM. Take the stage, Talha.
Thank you so much. Just give me a second. The file that I displayed is acting up a bit. Give me a second.
While you're doing that, Tala, like to let everybody know that your speech is on a level 3, inspire your audience, which is presenting a speech on a topic with the intent of inspiring the audience. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Toastmaster of the Day. And I hope I am visible along with the background and the Pacific Coastal Highway, right? All right. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Slow and steady wins the race, but only in fairy tales. In real life, you have to run. You have to be as fast as lightning if you want to keep up. But you know what? Have you ever been a passenger in a journey and not the driver? And if you have been, have you noticed the beauty that you notice around you when you have time and patience to be able to look around and not concentrate on the act of driving? Today, I will take you on such a journey, and I will be a passenger on my own journey. It all started in 2016. This was the agenda of my first Toastmasters meeting where I spoke. I joined Toastmasters in June 2016, but I started attending seriously in January 2017, where I delivered my first icebreaker. And trust me, it was a transformative experience. Before that icebreaker, I found ways to avoid attending the meeting. Today, I don't feel like it. Today, there's too much traffic. Today, I'm too tired from work. But then it clicked. And I delivered my icebreaker and received the evaluation. Everything clicked into place. And then when I became the VP Education of my club, we had this person, DTM Zad Kalia. He is a great friend of mine, and he's a perfectionist. he used to deliver a speech once every month under the old curriculum. So I told him that at this pace, given the number of speeches in the old curriculum towards DTM, you will take only 60 months to complete your DTM. And that was a wake-up call for me. I told him that be less of a perfectionist and focus on delivering speeches more quickly. And that is how fellow Toastmasters and guests, under my stewardship as VP Education, DTM Zed Kalia became a DTM in 2018. Next was DTM Dr. Rini. He was lagging behind. He was slagging off giving speeches, but then Toastmasters placed a deadline on people completing DTMs under the old curriculum. And that was a wake-up call from him. And I chalked out a map for him along with my colleagues at my club. And voila, we had our second DTM. Third was myself. I accomplished my DTM in July 2019. Then we had DTM Charuk Shanawaz, who was again someone who had stopped speaking for years, and the Toastmasters deadline acted up as a wake-up call for him. My best friend, DTM Rashid Dastagir, who I'm proud to say received considerable help and guidance from me in return of the help and guidance that he offered me towards my DTM journey. And ultimately, he too became a DTM. This person, DTM Muhammad Farooq, is an absolutely fantastic speaker. His primary language was Urdu, which is our native language. And for his English speech, he took coaching from me and many others, and he became our district's champion of public speaking in our first year. And in the process, he also completed his DTM. DTM Sarfraz Nazir lives in Texas, USA. He had already completed DTM 3 times. During the tenure of his membership of my home club, he managed to do DTM twice because, whisper it, pathway DTM is shorter and slightly easier. But he felt motivated enough. Otherwise, he had stopped speaking. These two young men entered Karachi Toastmasters Club in 2019. Both stuttered. And yet, the very next year, they became part of the executive committee, and they inspired the audience to such an extent that today both are area directors in our district and also inspiring speakers. And both were my mentees. DTM Amir Bilal, another one of my mentees and the newest DTM in this list. And not all DTMs under my membership are bearded men. So DTM Iram Gayas, we've never seen her face ever, and yet she is an absolutely inspiring speaker. She became a DTM in 2022. Toastmaster Iram Rizvi started her journey from District 105 and completed her DTM journey in my other club, Quantum League, recently. So where is my DTM? These are my DTMs, because with these absolutely fantastic people, I shared my DTM journey, and these are all the clubs that I supported or sponsored or coached. And it doesn't take one person to be able to do that successfully. During the launch or rescue of all these clubs, one of those wonderful people that you saw have been my partners. And fellow Toastmasters and guests, that is the scenic route I'm talking about. When you take the scenic route, you take in the sights and the sounds, and you help people along the way. And this is one of my proudest statistics, because this is the number of members that I've sponsored so far. Yes, 161 in my 6 years as Toastmaster. And I couldn't be prouder, because God chose me to be a medium of changing 161 lives. Imagine the honor and the privilege. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, being a DTM is not about achievement of one person at all. It takes a village to create a DTM. And a DTM is a whole district's journey And I'm so proud to have done the community proud 5 times. And I'm thoroughly grateful. And to this day, I say that I've received far more from Toastmasters than I've ever given it. But someday I aim to even that score. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much for that inspiring speech, Taha. And Teresa, if you would give us 1 minute of silence.
Of course.
And let the evaluator write their notes.
I didn't hear it very well.
One minute.
Thank you, Teresa. And would you please announce the timing for our next speech?
Of course. The next speech, once again, will be 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I will show the green. At 6 minutes, the yellow. And at 7 minutes, I will show red. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to introduce our second evaluator today, Maya Catherine. And Maya, would you please share with us what the speech path, project purpose, and timing is of our next speaker?
Yes, thank you. I have the pleasure of introducing the next speaker, Marlon. His speech project is engage your audience with humor. And the purpose of the project is for the member to determine their style of humor, apply to a speech that centers around a central message. The speech should be between 5 and 7 minutes. Thank you.
All right, and I would like to introduce Marlon. He has been the area director for Area 28 in District 81. Marlon Parejo is a powerlifting champion, a yellow belt in Jukuda, amateur podcaster, and budding author. As a matter of fact, he is working on his first book right now, entitled 4 out of 5 Ain't Bad, a collection of very short stories highlighting how a blind man in this country overcomes and excels with 4 senses instead of 5. Oh, did I mention that Marlon has been totally blind for 11 years? Let us welcome this dynamic human being in one of the stories from his book, a sneak peek of a story about how those without sight can actually help people find love. Marlon, up to you.
July 29th, 2014. Is it possible? Is there any benefits to blindness? I know it's a weird question, somehow probably ridiculous, but I believe I experienced and saw it today, even though I can't see past my nose. Mr. Toastmaster of the meeting, executive members, specially invited guests, and fellow Toastmasters, Sheldon. I am walking south along Sal Road in my country, in my hometown of San Juan. I'm walking with a purposeful gait, but somehow unhurried. You know the walk I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Your walk says, gotta go to work, gotta go to work, gotta go to work. But your mind says, I need coffee. So I'm heading to where I'm going to the second leg of my commute, and I hear a voice saying, you want time to cross the road? He smells lightly of laundry detergent. And yes, I readily admit it. I smell people. It's a side effect of blindness, I must admit. He places my hand underneath his arm, and I instinctively drag my hand down his arm onto his elbow and quietly remind myself to buy stronger hand sanitizer. And then I hear another voice. Hello, you are guiding him wrong. It's a Nigerian accent, and he smells like cabbages. Why you don't mind your business? I guided him. You man there, my grandmother is blind. I know what I'm doing. You're doing it wrong. And then the two of them begins to argue. The content of said argument is rated PG. And I surreptitiously move away from the arguing men because one, I don't think they intend to help me cross the street. And two, neither of them have any coffee that I can identify. I cross the street and I meet another man. Need any help, sir? I say to myself, wow, good diction. Slight scent of Axe chocolate and the Grand Old Spice, good manly cologne. And I accept his assistance. And whilst we are walking down the street, he tells me his name is Sheldon. And then it happens. Out from nowhere, I hear a female voice. She sounds like a large glass of orange juice. And she smells like Britney Spears' Fantasy. Hi, she coos, and he, Sheldon, says, hi, how are you going? But I notice that Sheldon is beginning to shake. And I noticed for the first time that you can actually feel someone's heartbeat through their elbow. She says, sure it is, right? He says, no, Sheldon. Oh, Sheldon, is this your brother? He says, no, and then finally the synapses begin to click. Madam Ebony is here speaking to Sheldon in her smooth voice, and he is literally spazzing out. And then I say, hey, seems to me like Shelly Welly is having a bit of a crushy-washy. And then I transform into the blind Cupid of Trinidad and Tobago. I figuratively shrug off my laptop bag and I don my Cupid wings. I reach for my love quiver of arrows and bow. Think about it for a while, put it down, and instead bring out the love rocket launcher. I say, miss, I have no idea who this man is, in my most simpering voice. I wanted to cross the street and no one wanted to help me.
Green.
And he persist.
Oh, stop. Oh.
Marlon, I believe your screen is frozen, so we are unable to hear you. You may need to re-sign in for the speech. Anyways, at this point, we should take 1 minute of silence and wait for Marlon to be able to rejoin us. So Teresa, if you would.
Okie dokie.
give us-
Marlon, now you are simply muted. Try unmuting, can you? Let's see. I can ask you to unmute. I think I can. Ask to unmute. Okay, now there's a button maybe that shows up that you can unmute yourself.
Well, even if it shows up, he'll need somebody to tell him.
Yeah.
That's all I can do. Maybe you can you drop out and pop right back in? I'm holding my breath, Marlon. I want the punchline.
Can you hear me now?
There, yes,
Can you
I
hear
can hear you now.
Okay, I have no idea where my story cut off.
It cut off at the point when you were being Cupid with the rocket launcher.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I tell her in my most simple voice, ma'am, this young man assisted me to cross the street when nobody was willing to. He's such a, I have no idea who this man is. I could have fell, I could have gotten hurt. I thought I was going to die, but he helped me when no one would. I believe almost a tear comes out of my eye. It was a performance worth the world champion of public speaking. The young lady says, Sheldon, is that true? That's so nice. Anyway, are you going to class later? Sheldon says, yes. And then she does something else. Give me your phone. I'll put my number on your phone because it seems that your hands are full. Give me a call and we'll walk to class together. I wanted to know if she was going insane. Are you going to kill this boy? He's going to have a heart attack. She gave him the number, handed it over, and I hear her leaving to the sound of, oops, I did it again. I played with your heart. Whilst we are walking,
Yellow.
whilst we're walking, am I muted again?
It's yellow.
Right, okay.
Well
Whilst I'm
on
walking
your
with,
way.
sure. Whilst I'm walking with Sheldon, he explains to me that she has been in his class for 4 months and he never had the courage to even say hi. And he thanks me vociferously. As we say our goodbyes, I walk towards my car with a new pep in my step. My walk says, my blindness really can help. There is really benefits to blindness. And my mind now says, I still need coffee, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much for that speech, Marlon. It was wonderful. And I'd like to have 1 minute of silence so that your evaluator can write their notes.
One minute.
Thank you, Teresa. And now we're coming to a point of a fun time in our meeting where we get to do table topics. And before we get started with table topics, Teresa, if you would give the timing for the table topics.
Of course. Table topics responses are to be 1 to 2 minutes. So at 1 minute, I will indicate green. At 1.5 minutes, yellow. And at 2 minutes, red. So make it succinct and enlightening. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Teresa. And now I'd like to introduce our table topics master of the day, the illustrious, the ever-prepared Victor Irving Jenkins.
Hey, thank you very much. Please try to control your enthusiasm. This is going to be an exceptional portion of the meeting. I'm moderating the portion of the meeting where we exemplify our impromptu speaking skills, because most of the time we are talking, it is impromptu. During our daily lives, people ask us questions and say things to us that we had no idea that they were going to ask and say. So we need to hone our impromptu skills, and that is where Toastmasters is head and shoulders above other programs. In our context of table topics, you need to do 2 things in order to be accepted by the rest of us. You must stay within the 2 minutes timing constraint, and you must use the word of the day. The thing that you don't must do, or the thing that you don't have to do, is it doesn't have to be the truth. It only has to be interesting, have a beginning, have a middle, and have an end, and not put anybody to sleep. Will the grammarian please tell us what the word of the day is and what it means?
Our word for the day is exposure. To reveal information, content, or identity. And it's very meaningful for participating today in that theme. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Madame Grammarian. Activities and behavior that we do, they show certain things about us. And our theme today is to participate today. So since we are participating today, by showing up today, you have given your permission that you're going to participate. The things that we do, they say certain things about us. The word of the day, as we already said, is exposure, and be sure to use that in your response. Judith, you're going to be the first table topics participant. And for you, the scenario is this. What one thing about you in a mixed gathering would show someone, my God, she must be a Toastmaster? And don't forget to use the word of the day.
I guess one thing that I could express in a crowd, the Toastmaster, is when somebody's speaking to me and I say, wow, what an interesting sentence is. Then the person say, nobody said this to me before, but I said, oh, but I am a Toastmaster. I listen to speeches all the time. And I listen to interesting phrases. And what you said really meant something to me. And then it does give an exposure to a person who has been a Toastmaster for a very long time. And then the question comes out, Toastmaster, what is Toastmaster? I never heard of Toastmasters before. Oh, I said, you know, this is public speaking. People learn how to speak well, badly, but this is what we do. And I have been doing this for a very long time. And I said, okay, then what are you speaking about? I said, well, you know, a lot of different topics. But I said, you know, I have actually a speech that I am working on. And the speech is called Fursona. And the person said, Fursona, what does that mean? I said, oh, these are people who are relating to animals and become like one, and they act like one. And she said, oh, wow. And then what? And I said, well, you know, it's a speech I am speaking. You asked me what I am going to speak next. So that's what happens. You become exposed to the world of Toastmasters, and then people say, wow, that is interesting, isn't it? I said, yes, it is. That is Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause. Our next participant is going to be Jennifer. Jennifer, we all have a degree of confidence, and in certain situations, our confidence it explodes, and other times it shrinks. Let's just say the you that you were in high school is the you I'm talking to, and you're at what we had in my culture at one of these dances where everybody between the age of 14 and 18 is at this dance. And when you're at home, you like this song. At this dance, they play that song. What does your behavior when they play that song tell us about your confidence level as far as dancing goes? And don't forget to use the word of the day.
What a loaded question. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in Table Topics and to expose who I am. That song would be Lady in Red. And I chose that song because it reminded me of the time when I met my husband, and it was a mutual attraction immediately. That's the song that was playing. I remember that I was wearing red and I looked good. So I was just shimmying on the dance floor with him, singing away Lady in Red. It made me excited. We exchanged contact information. And as Marlon would say, love happened afterwards. Lady in Red, that's the song. And even today when I hear that song, I still get pimples. I still get goosebumps, though I don't have the gentleman as my husband anymore, but I do have that song with beautiful memories. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And now our next participant is going to be Mr. Isaac Ford. When I was a boy, when I was a teenager, what we did in our neighborhoods, we all stood on the corner. We're young men, but we think we are men, right? And as different people walk by, particularly ladies walk by, we would just say hi, right? And the idea was to say hi to get a conversation going. And each guy would take their turn as a different girl come by. What did it say about your confidence level, and how would you have behaved in a situation like that? And please, Isaac, don't forget to use the word of the day.
Great. Thank you for that question, Mr. Table Topics Master. And I will be exposing myself because as a teenager, I was a shy guy. I would not approach any girl walking by, but it makes me think of a pickup line, something to say that's that would get their attention. And I can't really think of any pickup lines that I would use back then, but I don't know. Like, I know earlier someone spoke about a dance, and I remember going to a dance, and it was a program that we were in. And so everybody was in this auditorium at this dance. And I was so shy, I wouldn't ask anyone to dance. And when I did, they would all say no. And so I started feeling really bad about it. And so this one guy came up to me and he said, hey, listen, you're doing it all wrong. You don't ask to dance. You just go up and take their hand and walk to the dance floor. And do you know, it worked. I finally was able to get a dance because I just showed the initiative to not ask, but the confidence that I could dance. And that story that you just gave triggered that moment of thinking about when I went to a dance and I finally got my first dance. Back to you, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you ever so much. We appreciate that. Linda Patton, it is your turn. As an officer in this man's military, you were walking along the base one day and you wear your uniform so much, you just forgot that you had your uniform on. Someone saluted you and you didn't return the salute and kept walking and they kept walking. What do you suppose that person is saying about this officer that walked by and didn't return the salute. And don't forget to use the word of the day. In other words, what did you expose yourself as? Don't forget the word of the day.
Oh, Victor, actually, something very similar to that happened, although it was in reverse. I was the manager of a data processing section. Our job was to keep track of all of the folks in the 6 New England states and to make sure that every one of them was in our system. And when they would go AWOL, we had to take them off the rolls. And then when they came back, we had to put them back on. So it was this in and out and in and out and in and out. But I had a sergeant who early on said to me, "Ma'am, I'll walk around the block before I have to salute you. I don't like women in the military." So I gave him a sort of a challenge. He was out walking around. He'd come from lunch and he's walking around and I saw him. And I thought, aha, I'm going to make him have to salute me. So I waited and I waited until he turned the corner and I was standing right there in front of him.
Yeah.
He didn't see me until he turned the corner and he had to salute me. And I felt so good and so fulfilled, like a gotcha. Well, he got me too. He kept all the snowflake sheets that we got to tell us that they were looking for people in our database and couldn't find them. Well, he decided he'd put them in his drawer and not tell me. He went on vacation and we had a week without him, thank God. And I went down to the mailroom to find out what mail we got. And our postmaster handed me a stack of mail like this. And then he said, "You know, ma'am, there are all these snowflakes that I'm holding for you that haven't been turned in. When do you plan to do that?" Well, I went to my sergeant's desk, opened the drawer, and exposed all of those snowflakes. I got him transferred to Timbuktu, where he could not get a Mercedes shipped back to the US. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much. You're doing very well. Keep in mind, the grammarian is supposed to keep track of who's speaking and what order they're speaking and who used the word of the day, because I certainly am not doing that. So I hope you're all over that game. Miss Sally Reyes, you have received an award as the grandmother of the year because you're such a great one, right? Well, there you are in this environment the day that you get the award, and they have a whole bunch of little grandbabies surrounding you, and you guys are playing hide and seek, right? So they're all laying there, and you're the one that gets blindfolded. When you take off the blindfold, it's a completely different bunch of kids from the kids that you saw when they put the blindfold on you. What are you going to be shown to be in this particular case? And don't forget to use the word of the
day. I feel exposed already. I have very little information about grandchildren or finding out I've got a different group. I'm speechless. Not okay. I haven't got a thing to say.
Remember, you can make something up. You don't have to, you're not bound by truth.
By truth. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Would you get up and leave? Will you chastise them for tricking you? Will you ask them who they are? There's any number of steps that you could take. But if you want to move on, we can move on.
Move on.
Okay. The next person that we are going to talk about, will someone want to relieve Miss Teresa Cherry of the timing duties just for a moment? Okay, so Mrs. Pugh is going to do that. Well, Teresa, here's what happened. Everybody, there's no such thing really as a prima donna, but a lot of people get accused of being a prima donna, and they have certain behaviors that prima donnas do. But what happened to you is you were at the beauty parlor and getting your hair done, and it was feeling so good. You actually was lying back and your eyes were closed. But when you open your eyes, your hair is completely different from what you expected. Tell me, Teresa, what are you going to be exposed as? And don't forget to use the word of the day.
My goodness. My hair is different. I was planning for Halloween to do my hair blue or orange or green, because one of the benefits for me of the pandemic lockdown was that I decided to figure out what my true hair color was. Because I had been coloring my hair since I was 16 years old. So I had no idea. And I kind of lucked out because it turned out to be a nice gray. But when I'm in the salon, I do not close my eyes. You have to watch those people every moment. I mean, otherwise they get scissor happy. And some of you gentlemen in particular have been victims to perhaps in the barber shop. Thanks, Isaac. I love it. So as I said, I'm very open to changing my hair color, my hairstyle. I won't go as far as some of you gentlemen though, or I hope never having to. So here we go. So I cannot relate to your question. I apologize.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, you may resume your timing duties. Mrs. Peel, since you were so nice to help her, we'll see what you can be exposed as in this particular one. Years ago, in my culture, when a woman came to the dinner table, men just kind of stood up just to honor her as she came, right? And a lot of times the woman appreciated that and it meant something to them, and a lot of times it didn't. So Mrs. Peel, what are you going to be exposed as if you don't appreciate the fact that he stood up when you came back to the dinner table? And Mrs. Peel, don't forget to use the word of the day. Oh, make your light, turn your background off.
I'm exposing the wrong colors. Well, I was hoping to hear from Ms. Seema Giri, but you gave me the question. So if a human being does not recognize the courtesy and the respect of another human being, well, she's exposing herself as a fool. That's what I think. Now, if somebody is making a gesture toward a person and they're not making that gesture with respect, well, that's a different story. But even Isaac on the street corner, even Mr. Victor Irving Jenkins on the street corner, they know how to behave. They know how to relate to somebody using the formalities of the culture in such a way to invite respectful, open, juicy, sexy conversation. And that's the kind of communication I like. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And Seema, since she brought your name up, well, she just made it easy for me to choose the next person.
Well, Mr. Table Topics Master, we're kind of short on time to do one more. So if we could kind of wrap it up so we could stay on schedule today.
So what did you just expose yourself at?
I expose myself as a Toastmaster of the day, trying to keep our meeting on track.
Okay, Mr. Grammarian, did everybody use the word of the day?
Oh, you want that report?
So we'll know if they qualify.
Okay, if this is the report, Victor 2, Tala 1, Sally.
No. Just in the
no,
table
no.
topics portion, did everybody in their table topics response say the word of the day?
Did anybody? Yes.
Okay. And did everyone pass the time, Teresa?
Yes, everyone was right on time.
I return control of the virtual lectern to our esteemed Toastmaster. Thanks for playing.
Thank you very much for those interesting and thought-provoking questions, Table Topics Master Victor. And at this point, I would like to introduce our general evaluator for the meeting today, Ms. Linda Patton. Linda, your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary, so very much. It's delightful to have this passed back to me so I can participate more fully. We, as I said early on, we do evaluate the speeches as they came up. And so let me introduce my first evaluator, and that would be, hang on. First evaluator would be, I have a second
It's
evaluator.
Gina Walker.
Sorry, who?
Yes.
Sheena, there you are. Sheena Walker, would you please tell us how Tala did today?
Delighted to thank you, Linda and fellow Toastmasters. I thought that Tala did amazingly well. I loved his title. I thought the title was brilliant, The Scenic Route. I also loved his introduction, which was, and he spoke about, are you the passenger or the driver? I thought that was great. I thought that was quite clever, and it sat quite well with the scenic route. I thought that your speech content was quite appropriate for speaking about your role as the DTM. I thought it was quite compelling to speak about all the people that you've mentored. I think that's very encouraging. It's quite inspiring. It is a lot of people that you've mentored. And I think with bated breath, I was thinking, wow, where do you find the time to do that? That was very good. I liked how you shared people on the screen and showed and spoke a little bit about their journey. I thought that was quite encouraging to have. I think you had brought 4 people up, or maybe was it 5 people, and said, well, these are the people and this is where they were and this is what I did. So I thought all of that was really, really, really good. And you've obviously spent a bit of time putting that together. So well done on that. I think that what I'd like to see, what you could do different, is I'd like to see that when you spoke about different people and the inspiring part, is use vocal variety more, because you spoke in the same tone throughout. And I think I'm aware that you only had 7 minutes and it's quite difficult to do everything in the 7 minutes, but I'd like you to think about the next time to use the pause and the pace and the vocal variety, and maybe even be able to emphasize key lines. I think you could have a brilliant tagline in the passenger driver, and you can bring a tagline in 3 or 4 or 5 times. That would be excellent. I'd love that. The other thing that I thought, I know it's difficult there, but I thought that would emphasize your great presentation would be if you'd stood up. I know that we don't always do that, but I think I would have liked to have seen some body language, some gestures, and maybe facial expression that went with the gestures. That was the key area was the vocal variety and the body language, which I think could just make it a brilliant speech. I'm trying to think what else I wrote down. I think that your speech was in line with when we're looking at international speech contests. I think your speech was quite appropriate. It added value to the role that you had. It was appropriate. It was correct. So I think that was great. Just the body language, vocal variety, and a tagline would make it very different. And I think it's something I don't see in Toastmasters a lot, but it's using the stage, using the little bit of stage we have. But well done.
Thank you very much, Sheena. And back to you, General Evaluator Linda.
Thank you. I'd like to call up our second evaluator, Maya Catherine, to evaluate Marlon.
Thank you, Linda, fellow Toastmasters. Marlon, I thought it was a great speech. Great intro with the date. Great leading question, engaging the audience. Great way to have the audience experience what you were feeling when you talked about the smells, when you said things like, sounds like a tall glass of orange juice. That was beautiful. I felt I could smell that myself. Storytelling was excellent. I loved the dialogue in your presentation. Also, the humor was on point. That was the point of the project. And I think that you definitely checked that box. It was a great speech. If I have to talk about anything as far as stretch goals, I would say you did have great pauses in the beginning. So just having the pauses kind of evenly throughout the speech could really be beneficial. And I would say because of the amount of dialogue, maybe having some sentences in between tying the dialogue to the main point of the story regarding the blindness and, and how useful and beneficial that can be. I think that probably would add a little more, togetherness to the story. But overall, it was interesting, definitely humorous, and certainly inspiring. It made me feel proud to be on the stage with you and our fellow Toastmasters. So I look forward to hearing you again. And again, it was a great speech. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And now I'd like to go to our timer for her report on how we did staying on time. Teresa?
Actually, we did pretty well. I will say, though, that a couple of our speakers were a little bit more verbose than they should have been. Everybody gets caught. Our keynote speaker was like 2 seconds over. But since he's such a pro, I had to call you on it. Tala's speech, once again, a second over. However, then there's Marlon. Marlon not only demonstrated that he has a great sense of smell and also great empathy with his fellow human beings and so sensitive to their feelings. But he's also has a great sense of time because he fell on that 7-minute mark like a pro, even after the technical difficulties that we had in about the middle of his speech. So Marlon, thank you for being a great example to us all. Victor, table topics. I will not even speak to the timing on the table topics master because you were a great leader and you always come up with some actually pretty good questions. Judith's time was 1:45, Jennifer 1:14, Isaac 1:40, Linda 2 minutes 15 seconds, Sally Reyes, I'm going to give you the minute, but you did struggle, my darling. I think we all would have with that question. So it falls on the table topics master. I don't remember what mine was, but I think it was around a minute or so. And Kathleen, it was 1 minute, 35 seconds. Evaluations, Sheena was 3 minutes, 42 seconds. And Maya was 1 minute, 50 seconds. So between the two of them, they were perfect. Let's see. I think that's all I have to report at this point. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attention.
Thank you, Teresa, for that in-depth evaluation of our timing. Those of us who were over and those of us that were under, as well as all the brilliant people who were in the middle and fell correctly in the time zone. With that, let's turn it over to our grammarian, word of the day, counter extraordinaire, Miss Sally Reyes.
Thank you very much. This has been an adventure. Sheena, 3 times, at least using exposure. Victor, 2. Tala, 1. Sally, 2. Jennifer, 1. Gary, 4. Linda, 2. And let's see. Judith, 2. Now we have some other things to discuss. Teresa, 2 ums and 2 they were ums and and let's see, Maya, and and that is it.
Thank you, Sally, for the great report. I think we did an excellent job in this meeting, and I'm very, very proud of all of you. We started on time. We're doing okay for time to be able to end on time. And now I'm doing all the ahs and ums. Each section flowed easily and effortlessly, I have to say, even with participants who might have challenges with video or audio or whatever, we still moved along and we're actually doing well as far as timing and ending on time. Our 2 speakers were amazing stories. I was touched by both of them, and I concur with the evaluators on their suggestions and recommendations. So they were spot on, and I had nothing to add to those. I'd also like the fact that our evaluators highlighted specific parts, specific movements, or whatever. When you get a blanket evaluations, it's sometimes difficult to go back in your mind as to, well, what was that speech? How did I do that? What did I not do? How did it not work? But if you have that specific information, it's easier to go back into the speech and go, here, and I can make those changes. Or I might decide not to, that you like the way it is, and to heck with your evaluator. You also gave specific parts, identifying and mentoring other speakers. This is great. We all are here to help each other out to be the very best Toastmaster we can possibly be. And that's so very, very important to lift up and then support with your comments. I agreed with the comments about vocal variety and body language. When you're sitting, it is very difficult to be very animated and doing, the Charleston or anything else. Standing up does a whole lot more for you, even though it sort of cuts you off just below the waist. If you can, do it. If you can't, it's totally understood in the Zoom environment. Overall, I have to say it was, even though it didn't feel like a tight meeting, it definitely flowed in the direction that it needed to go and stayed within its lanes. So I want to commend you all for the excellent job that you did today in our meeting. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster. No, actually, I got to turn it over to VPE, to Ms. Kathleen.
Thank you, Madam General Major
We're gonna do that.
Evaluator.
It's on the edge of the eyebrow.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, you guys, you know that sign in the break room at work? Clean up after yourself because your mom doesn't work here? Well, your VPE works too hard, too many hours, and she's tired of it in getting the agenda for our fun meetings, for our successful meetings, for our mutual cross-fertilization and success. I'm doing too much work. So last meeting in the other time section, I asked the group, would you care to have 5 minutes at the end of the meeting devoted to signing up for the following sections roles? That would be 2 weeks from this hour. And so I want to, and they said yes. Most of them raised their hands when I asked that question. So I would like to ask you, I've tried to get you to respond through email, and I've sent texts and this and that. It doesn't work out too great. We're still going to need to do that if we have dedicate these 5 minutes. We're still going to need to watch the email and respond to requests. But I think we might shorten the time and reduce the load on one person if we have 5 minutes devoted to signing up for roles for the next time. So please show hands if you like the idea.
I have a suggestion, Kathleen. Why don't you just do it?
Well,
don't
because
ask people they want to do it. Just put the schedule on. Who wants to be Toastmaster? Who wants to speak? All this. That's what I think.
VPEs at one point should stop asking and just telling.
You
Exactly.
think?
Don't
Well, I
ask.
want
Yeah.
buy-in.
Is
I'm
Nell
not.
Isaacson?
Okay, well, you know what? I counted enough. So that's what's going to happen. So speaking of which, do anybody want to raise their hand and tell me that they will be in attendance in 2 weeks for the upcoming meeting at this time slot? Anybody want to raise? Aha. Mr. President, well, you have a pretty consistent job. Do you?
CMD plus tilde to reach pop-up and lower.
You want to keep it there? Okay, thank you for showing the way, Mr. Mentor.
Yeah, can I just say, Kathleen, I'm actually traveling back from London 2 weeks today, and I won't get back into the station till 11 o'clock at night. So,
Okay, well, I am really delighted when you're not able to attend, Sheena, because I know you are knocking it out of the park somewhere. So you're a rare case where I am delighted when you cannot come because you are very busy doing something marvelous. And when you come to our meetings, I know you're doing something marvelous. You always bring so much to the meetings. And Gary or Teresa, Linda, Maya. Oh, Maya, you're here at an unusual time frame, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm speaking on the 26th. We're talking about the 26th.
No,
Is that what you were talking about? That date?
Yes.
No, we're looking
Yes.
for the time frame that we're occupying now?
The 26th.
The 20.
Okay, yes, that's
26, is that what
Yeah.
she's
Okay,
going
yeah.
to?
I'm a speaker that day.
Okay,
But,
that's plenty.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Need to
your
choose a
schedule.
Do you need to choose
I'll
a
be
Toastmaster?
general
Who wants to be a
evaluator that day.
Toastmaster?
Gary just said he'd be the general evaluator. And Kathleen, I'll take the second speech.
I'll be your
Currently, I'm muted.
Toastmaster.
That's the way it is.
The 26th that you're speaking about is the 26th of October,
No, September, my dear.
No, September.
September. Oh, so that's like 2 weeks from now. Like, wait,
Yes,
2 weeks from now. Oh, okay, great. Around this the same time, right?
yes.
Okay. What rules are there available?
Would you like to do table topics or
Oh, I
evaluation?
would love to do table topics.
Okay.
In the words of some villain.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Any evaluation? Anybody want to practice evaluating?
I think I'd like to.
One more.
Could Isaac evaluate?
Isaac, you want to be an evaluator? You've been.
Yeah, I can evaluate.
Thanks, Isaac.
This
It's almost done.
This is so nice. I tell you what, I am really, really happy because there went my job in 5 minutes. And with that, I thank you very much for a fun time learning, exercising, stretching our.
Oh, Kathleen,
Well-
Kathleen, there's two more things. Ask anybody who wants to be a timer and a grammarian, and then you have actually almost the whole thing done.
Alrighty. Would anyone care to step up to be the grammarian? Alrighty, thank you. Thank you very much, Judith.
A
And
timer. You need one timer.
I think we have,
Zoom.us has me pan lowered.
oh, Mr. Victor Irving Jenkins, are you going to be attending that meeting? Would you care to be our timer?
Sure.
And you have to wear a hat.
Oh,
Ha, ha, ha.
Preferably a 10-gallon hat.
just need to be colorful. That's what he needs to be.
Well, that funny
Oh.
thing you're wearing, that,
Well, I
that
got- well, I got
qualifies as a
color.
hat.
I got
Probably
I got bunches of
horse in the
color.
background. A horse in the background. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Judith. That was very smart. Thank you. Okay, all right. Now, I thank you very much, and I turn the lectern over to our president, Talha bin Hamid.
Thank you so much, Madam VPE, an absolutely fantastic job. Trouble is, in my clubs, in which I am the VP Education, there are too few people left by the end. Otherwise, I would have done the same. But I will work at it. Maybe do this at the start rather than the ending. So not every club is consistent like Leaders Worldwide, where people stick around right till the end. So congratulations, you've got your next agenda prepared. And, you sounded like all our moms. Exactly. When you scolded us first, then threatened us, then did a bit of emotional blackmailing, and finally you got what you wanted. Congratulations.
I imagine her with a large spoon in her hand.
Yeah.
Zoom.us has new window.
So now we are hurtling towards the end of this meeting, and there's just one thing to do, and that is to take feedback and takeaways and giveaways. So today my giveaway is, of course, virtual, not real. Any variety of cocktail or drink that you could have, right? And I'd invite our distinguished guest, our keynote speaker, PTM Joseph Skoda, for your feedback, what you're taking away from this meeting.
Well, if you're talking about a drink, and I did mention that earlier, it is happy hour, and I'm going to have a martini. I normally do a gin martini with a little bit of olive juice to make it dirty, but I also like cherry in there. So I'll put an olive, a cherry, olive juice, some gin, a little bit of vermouth, and I'm good for the day. You is even better, but I'm good for the day. I got a lot of takeaways from the day. I'm looking for those chocolates. And what I noticed, I do a lot of speeches on the golden nugget. What was your golden nugget, your takeaway of the day, of the evening? And I learned so much. There's a lot of powerful speakers here. I didn't realize that you're really international all over the world. I belong to a club like that too. And I got members from Barbados, Alaska, Mongolia. I have someone from Mongolia, one of my clubs. It's crazy. So that's what's so exciting is we can get together once a week, once every couple of weeks, once a month, whatever it is, and learn and draw from each other. So I'll be glad to join, go visit another club or speak or listen. Just feel free to reach out and email me. I appreciate it. And thank you for the invite. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I bet that we had far more fun listening to you than whatever amount of fun you had at the meeting. I can bet on that. And yeah, so there goes your martini. It's right there on a silver platter. Please accept it. Yeah. All right. Do you do that to everyone who offers you a drink? Show them a hammer? All right. I'll take that.
I'm trying not to have to pay for it. I'm cheap.
Oh, that's a good tip, actually. That's something, another takeaway, another golden nugget. Always carry a hammer with you and won't have to pay for anything. So next, we have someone very special. She evaluated for the first time today. And not a week earlier, she was a keynote speaker at one of my other clubs, Quantum Leap, which is also an international club. And it is a club for nerds and geeks. So yeah, a little bit of advertising here. But in order to have good content, you always have to have some commercials. So Toastmaster Maya, how did you feel and what are you taking away from your experience today?
Thank you so much. This was a wonderful meeting as usual. Guess takeaways are, there is nothing that can stop you from your destiny when you want to achieve your destiny, where it be 12 years for an associate degree, or where it be a disability or whatever. There's nothing really that can stop you once you put your mind and that, just focus on your own path, even if it doesn't look like somebody else's path to an associate degree. Your path, honor your own path and be grateful and happy and proud of your own path. That's really my main takeaway, and grateful for a wonderful conversation. Thank you. Back to you.
That was so deep because yes, you're so right. None of us have exactly the same path as any other human being ever in history. And we need to pave our own paths. We need to recognize our own path because this universe is different for each one of us. So thank you so much for that. For my last, and sorry, I forgot to ask you, what would you like to have as a drink, a beverage or a cocktail, whatever?
I only have one type of drink. Believe it or not, wine makes me not sleep. I can't have a lot of things. I only have the same drink: tequila, cranberry, pineapple, and ice. That's it. That's it.
All right. All right. So congratulations. You've earned your tequila, cranberry, pineapple. There you go. And since we are just 5 minutes away from the designated end time, I'll just ask one more person to share their takeaways. Who would like to be that person?
Currently unmuted.
I would like to.
All right. Perfect. Go ahead, Marlon.
Now, because I cannot see at all, my hobby, although I did admit to smelling people, is that I listen to people. And it is so refreshing to hear the different accents. And even though everybody speaks English, just to hear the different accents, it's just, I love diversity. For example, Maya was speaking, and I was like, okay, until I heard her say the word humor, which she pronounced humor. Wow, that sounds. And I automatically got an image in my mind of Catherine Zeta-Jones. Because I have a clue, I have an idea. Does Maya look like Catherine Zeta-Jones by chance?
On her best day, Catherine wouldn't look as good as Maya.
Yeah. Yes. I got a bit of the Spanish accent when she said Juma. I was like, yeah, that sounds nice. Wow. And it just goes to show that when we are doing our speeches, you can cater for all audiences. You can speak in an audience full of blind persons and still say things that will resonate with them. I would also suggest that, this has happened today, you be as descriptive as possible. Once you are descriptive enough, it's good to go. And because of that, I even imagine what people look like. Although my good friend Victor may not necessarily have a 10-gallon hat and a horse, I always imagine him on a horse doing table topics. And so because he has a sort of a Texas drawl and so on. And even the keynote speaker spoke about someone from Mongolia. I automatically imagined a Toastmaster using his computer with a yak in the background, although probably in Mongolia there's yak. I don't know, but it just goes. That's my takeaway. And I'm encouraging you all, try to be as descriptive as possible, be as inclusive as possible. And once you speak and you are animated, especially with your stories, we as people with visual impairment can follow on quite nicely. And I'll take a coconut water, please, Mr. President.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that I can arrange easily. So yeah, there's your coconut water. In fact, I'm giving you a coconut with a straw in it. All right. You're muted, Marlon. Yeah.
Hope I catch it. That could hurt to hit me.
So yeah, I've thrown it to you, and yeah, it's traveling to you, and now you have it. So I must say, Marlon, I mean, you must be labeled blind, but perhaps you see more than all of us. You have a whole universe behind your eyes, and so perceptive. That's absolutely inspiring. And it really means that you don't really need eyes to see, you just need your imagination. Thank you so much.
Mr. President, Mr. President, that's a clear indication that we may see through our eyes, but we see with our minds.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That is correct.
Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's 1 o'clock, right? And it's time to declare this meeting closed. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you all in a week's time.
Have fun, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Currently unmuted.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you, guys.